Hi everyone, welcome back. The time has come to try the new Huda Beauty Faux Filter Color Correctors. I've been waiting for these to come in the mail. This is probably the most excited I've been for a color corrector in quite a while. These look super promising. If you're new to my channel, I test a lot of color correctors that come out, particularly for under eye darkness, and I'm so excited to try these from Huda Beauty. If you're new, my name is Blair. I do all kinds of beauty and makeup content here on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I hope you'll subscribe and let's just get started. All right, so a little bit about me. I do, like I said in the intro, a lot of videos on color correctors because I have dark circles all the time. Doesn't matter what day it is, I always have them. I've had them for a very long time. So I'm always looking for the very best color correctors to correct under my eyes. And this really appealed to me, number one, because I love the Faux Filter concealer from Huda Beauty. That's a great concealer. So I have high hopes for this. And based on the color swatches I've seen online, these look really good in terms of the shades. So I bought the two lightest shades, which are Pink Pomelo and Peach. I think Pink Pomelo, the lightest shade, is going to be the best for me actually, now that I've seen them in person, but we're going to try both. All right, so these come in 5 shades and they retail for $30. They are supposed to be a medium coverage corrector, so not the fullest of coverage, but more than a light coverage. It's a liquid product. They have a doe foot applicator, so they look like this. They're in same packaging really as the concealer, just with the orange lids. So what I'm thinking, since I have 2 colors, let me swatch them for you first. I typically prefer, and if you're not new to my channel, you've heard me say this many times, but I typically prefer a color corrector for me that has a little bit of pink in it. I don't like something that's too orange for my skin tone and my under eyes. That does not work as well. Yeah, so you'll see here the peach is definitely more orangey for sure. So we have Pink Pomelo and Peach. So this is the lightest shade. This is the second to lightest shade. Now, it depends on your under eyes and what color discoloration you have and your skin tone as to what color corrector is going to be best for you. I talk about this a lot on my channel, but typically something with a little bit of pink in it works best for me. So that's why I'm thinking Pink Pomelo is going to be the best. Usually when brands come out with color correctors, they'll make a peach, like similar to this one, and then they'll make a pink, but the pink is usually very, very light, almost like a white color. For example, this color corrector is another one that I love. This is the Exa color corrector in pink. And you'll see there is a huge difference between this and Pink Pomelo from Huda Beauty. So you see that's pink from Exa, that is Pink Pomelo. So the pink from most brands I find to be very similar to this. It's so light. It almost looks white on your skin, which is not going to do a whole lot in terms of color correcting. It will brighten if you don't have significant darkness under your eyes, but it's not going to correct anything for most skin tones if you go in with something that light. So the Huda Beauties are definitely reminding me somewhat of the Exa color correctors. I do think the Huda is a little bit more liquidy. So I'll go ahead and swatch the Exa for you as well in peach, because this is one I use a lot. So we have the Exa High Fidelity in peach, Exa High Fidelity in pink, Huda Pink Pomelo, and Huda Peach. So you can see Pink Pomelo and Peach from Exa are very similar, but you can see Pink Pomelo definitely has a little bit more of a pinky undertone, which excites me. We'll get into it now. I may do a few more comparisons after we apply these, but let's just go ahead and go in with the corrector. So you get a little doe foot applicator, It's a little curved applicator, which I like. My left eye is typically my darker eye. So let's go in with Pink Pomelo on this side. Let me see actually if I can zoom you in just a little bit more. So we'll go in with Pink Pomelo first on this side. I'm gonna start with that because I feel like since this is such a liquidy texture, I feel like it's gonna spread quite a bit. All right, I'm gonna blend that in with the Rare Beauty concealer brush and just start tapping this in. And with a liquid like this, I personally like to use a brush. If it's more of a cream consistency, then your finger works really well. So this eye has Pink Pomelo. What do we think? I will say on my under eyes, it definitely does not translate as pink as it looks when you just look at a swatch of it. So this eye has Pink Pomelo and this eye has nothing. And this eye is my darker eye, typically, of the two. So it did spread really, really easily. So you definitely don't need a lot of it. It's definitely a medium coverage. I definitely think that's true for sure, just based on looking at it, because you can definitely still see, I don't know how much will show on camera, but you can definitely still see the darkness through this. It just neutralized it quite a bit. But it looks nice under my eyes. Hopefully you can see it looks very hydrating. I would say it's a natural finish right now. It's not super matte, but it's not super dewy at all under my eyes, which is what I prefer. There is one eye done and one eye with nothing. All right, just out of curiosity, I'm gonna add just like a small bit more to this eye and see if it builds up coverage at all. And I'm gonna let it sit for like 30 seconds before we blend it in. Then I'm just gonna tap that in with my brush again. So, and there is Pink Pomelo. I think that definitely did add a little bit more coverage in this area. I would say this type of formula, you definitely want to let it sit before you blend it in. I would say, unless you don't really care about the amount of coverage that you're getting, but I would assume if you're applying a color corrector for under the eyes, you want the most coverage you can get from it. So I would let it sit for a minute before you blend it. Love the formula though. The formula is very nice, very easy to apply. Let's move on to this eye and use the other shade, which is Peach. Honestly, thinking about it now, I probably should have used Peach on this eye since this eye is typically darker than this eye and the peach is a little bit deeper than the Pink Pomelo, but oh well. By the way, this has had, I would say like 10 minutes now to dry down, and it has. It looks like it's totally set without powder or concealer on top or anything, and no creasing. Nothing weird is happening. So far, so good, especially with the formula itself. Let's go ahead and do Peach on the other eye. I'm gonna let it sit for just a minute. I'm gonna use that brush and start tapping this in. Yeah, so it spreads a lot. You see how much that little bit of product just spread all across my eye. So yeah, you do not need a lot of these. You need much less than the product that comes off on the applicator. When you pull it out of the tube, you do not need all that product that comes out. So definitely wipe a little bit off. So there is Peach. So you can see Peach is a lot more orangey. Pink Pomelo is much closer to my actual skin tone, which is typically what I look for. I don't like to go super orangey. Number one, I feel like orange doesn't work as well for my under eyes. And number two, the more off you go from your skin tone, the more you're gonna have to work to cover it up with concealer. Whereas if you get a corrector that is close to your skin tone and is the right shade, you won't have to use much concealer at all. That's kind of the goal. But something else I did want to point out, if you want to make sure you're applying a color corrector, whether it's this one or another one, that is as dark as the darkness that you're trying to cover. If you put a lighter color corrector over something darker, it's not going to correct. The darkness is going to show right through, and you're going to have a very hard time getting that full coverage, bright, even under eye look, because that darkness underneath was not neutralized well enough to begin with. Hopefully that makes sense. So it's a fine line. You don't want to go too light with your corrector. You also don't want to go too dark, because then you're going to have to work really hard to cover it up. So it's kind of a balance. That's why the color range is super important to me, and why I was so excited about this pink pomelo shade, just because I could tell by looking at it that it looked very, very close to what I like and what would work for my under eyes and my skin tone. What I want to do now is I want to apply concealer over the top of these two so we can see the difference. Since these are from Huda Beauty and I have the Huda Beauty concealer, we're going to use this. I use the shade Coconut Flakes typically, which is a neutral undertone. So we're just going to use this. So we'll start with the pink pomelo side and apply some concealer over here. I'm just going to do about that much. Okay, I'm going to use this Smashbox blurring concealer brush. It's clean, so it doesn't have any product on it. And I'm just going to start blending that concealer in. I'm doing more of a tapping motion, because another thing you want to watch out for is if you have a color corrector under your eyes, or really anywhere on your face, you don't want to swipe or tug at anything as you're blending, because then you'll just move the corrector that you've put underneath, and that totally defeats the purpose of the color corrector in the first place. So that's why I am tapping. So there is that eye blended out. Looks very good to me. Very, very good coverage. No issue with that side covering the corrector, because it's pretty close to my skin tone, but I think it looks really nice. All right, let's move on to the other eye, and we'll see how this looks. I'm gonna kind of do the same placement. I'm gonna add just like a tiny bit more on this side, since this corrector is quite a bit darker than the other one. All right, and then I'll start blending this in. This is a great concealer, by the way, from Huda Beauty. It's really, really nice, gives great coverage, wears well. Really like it. So we have Peach on this side with concealer and Pink Pomelo on this side with concealer. They honestly don't look that different in person. I feel like I did have to work a little bit harder on the peach side to make sure I get that concealer spread out evenly so I could cover that orange pigment from the peach color. I feel like it was a little bit easier to apply over here, but the end result does not look that different. I'm thinking something I want to try, and I might remove this and try it now, is use a little bit of both colors under my eyes, like a dot of each one. I just wonder how that would work. It's making me kind of wonder what I would think of that. So we may do that in a minute, but overall, I think my under eyes look really good with either shade, honestly. Advantages of one over the other would be Pink Pomelo. I could honestly probably get away with using on its own, not adding concealer over the top, whereas the peach shade is pretty far off from my skin tone, so I would definitely need to put concealer on top of it. So that would kind of be the difference. I could definitely get away with either of them though, because they both look pretty good to me. One final thing I did want to say is something else that is standing out to me about this, which is really nice, is typically this eye, my darker eye that I mentioned a few times, sometimes I have trouble getting this eye to match this eye in terms of the coverage level and the overall evenness under my eyes, just because this one is significantly darker than this one. So sometimes if I don't use a corrector that works well on both eyes, it can be kind of difficult to get the same level of coverage under both. But even with using a different corrector on each side, they look pretty even to me in terms of the coverage under my eyes, which is promising. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. I'll be back and we'll try out using a little bit of both under each eye. I removed that, re-prepped my under eyes with a little bit of an eye cream and let it sit for a minute, just so my under eyes aren't dry, because that'll affect how it looks. We don't want to do that. So let's go in with a dot of each one of these and just see. Obviously, it's not ideal to buy 2 shades, but since I have them, in case you're wondering how they would perform together, we'll test it out. So I'm starting with 1 dot of pink pomelo and 1 dot of peach. And I'm gonna blend with the Rare Beauty concealer brush. So there's that eye with both shades. Let's do the other eye. So here is what my eyes look like with both shades. Honestly, I think it looks really good with both. But again, because I added the peach, you can definitely see the oranginess a bit more than with pink pomelo on its own. So just kind of depends. I could make any combination of them work, alone or together. I will probably wear this the most with pink pomelo on its own, but I actually think it looks pretty good with both. But I would have to put concealer over the top. So let's do that. We'll speed through this. I'm going to use the same Huda Beauty concealer and apply this over the top. All right, so here's everything blended out. Honestly, it looks really good. Both eyes in person. Hopefully it translates on camera. They look really good. Very covered. Not creasing, nothing weird happening. They look really, really great. So I'm thinking these are going to be a hit for me for sure. The last thing I do want to do, because I know there's probably people wanting to see this. This is not something I do all the time, but I do have this product, so I thought we could try it. The Huda baking powder. I have the shade Cupcake, and I thought we could set one of my eyes, and I'm going to try to do a wear test on this video as well and wear these all day long. Just see how it wears out of curiosity. But I figured we could set one eye with some of this powder. So let me get a little bit of this out of here. I know, I'm trying to decide how I'm going to go about applying this, because I don't always love baking on me, but I know that's usually how this stuff applies the best. I think I might do a brush instead. I just personally like brushes a bit more. I don't love when I use a powder puff. Sometimes with certain powders it's okay, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm gonna like it with a brush a bit better. Yeah, let's go in with a brush. So I'm gonna get some of the powder in the brush, and I'm gonna tap off the excess on my hand so there's not too much, because like I said, I don't love the baking technique on myself. I see it on other people and it looks good, but on me, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't look as good. I'm just kind of building it up, tapping it off so I have some of the powder on here, okay? All right, let's set my left eye. So this eye has powder, this eye does not. Definitely the powder makes a big difference in terms of the finish, for sure. I feel like this looks much smoother on this side than this eye just because of the powder. I think I'm gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna keep this eye with no powder, this eye with the powder. I'm gonna wear this all day long, and I'll come back at the end of the day and kind of update you on my final thoughts on these. I did want to do a few more comparisons. I know this is going to be a longer review, but y'all know me, I like to give you comparisons of other things. So I want to compare a few of my other correctors to these for the shade mainly. I also did a review on this one a little while ago. This is the Tarte Shape Tape Color Corrector in Peach. So I want you to see the difference here. Big difference between these three, you'll see right away. So we have Pink Pomelo, Peach from Huda Beauty, Peach from Tarte. Big difference between the Huda Beauty Peach and the Tarte Peach. This is pretty orangey, it's a good bit deeper. So you can see the Tarte is actually about the same depth of color as Pink Pomelo. The shades are just different. This does not have very much, if any, pink in it at all, whereas that one definitely has more of a pinky peach tone to it. That one is darker and has more orange in it. So colors really do make a difference when it comes to color correctors. In fact, that makes the biggest difference a lot of the times. I also have this one here that I use a lot, which is Neutrogena in the shade Peach. Again, big difference. So Pink Pomelo, Peach, Peach from Tarte, and Peach from Neutrogena. So Neutrogena is the lightest one. It has just a slight peachy undertone, not much pink in it though. So pink is where, for me, I find the biggest difference in how my under eyes look. A little bit of pink makes a big difference. Another one that I use all the time is Pixie. This one is cream, so it's not a liquid like the rest of these, but this color is really good for me, and I think it's because it does have that pinky tone to it. So I'm gonna swatch this one as well. So the shade of this one is very similar to Pink Pomelo from Huda. So there's Pixie, Pink Pomelo, so you can see they're pretty similar there. Peach from Huda, Peach from Tarte, and Neutrogena and Peach. Hopefully that helps you. Let me actually grab one more that I use a lot and I talk about a lot, which is Bobbi Brown in Bisque that I don't have over here, so let me grab it. All right, so I have Bobbi Brown Stick Corrector here in Bisque, which is also something I use quite a bit. And this is interesting because it definitely looks different in the swatch from the others. So that is Bisque there from Bobbi Brown. So Bisque actually works pretty well for me, but you can see it's definitely not as pinky as these. FYI for you, Bisque does work well. So it's all about the color, you guys. And honestly, color correctors, it's kind of trial and error. You just kind of have to test things with your under eyes and see what works. So hopefully those swatches helped you. Okay, I finished my makeup. Figured I would show you what it looks like so you have something to compare to in a few hours. But so far, under eyes look really, really good. I have no complaints at all. I think they look nice, very covered, very even. So I'm really happy with this. But I'm gonna wear this, like I said, for a few hours. I'll come back at the end of the day and wrap up the video. But so far, so good. All right, you guys, it's the end of the day. And it's been about 5.5 hours since I applied this makeup. I applied my makeup later in the day today, so I'm not getting like a full 8-hour wear today. But this is gonna be a pretty quick ending to this video because I think these look phenomenal still. So this is the eye with the powder and this side has no powder. Honestly, even the side without powder has worn really well. And I left the house, I was out, I went to the grocery store. It's like almost 100 degrees here today, so it's hot and I have not touched up my face at all with anything. I really don't have anything negative to say. I mean, I definitely think this side with the powder, I don't know how much will actually come off on camera. I mean, it maybe looks like a little tiny bit dry in this area, but honestly, not bad at all. Not bad at all for 5.5, almost 6 hours of wear with no touch-ups. I mean, I'm super happy with this. I definitely think this is going to be one of my new favorite color correctors for sure. I think I will probably use Pink Pomelo the most just because it's easiest because it's closest to my skin tone. But like you saw earlier, I could definitely use the peach on its own. I just have to work a little bit harder to cover it with concealer, or I can definitely mix them, which is what you're seeing now. It's a mix of the two. So I'm super happy with this, and I can't wait to continue trying these with other concealers, other powders under my eyes. Maybe I'll try it with a powder puff instead of a brush and see, and I'll have to update you in a future video. But these definitely really impressed me, and I'm very happy to have them. Have another brand release color correctors is amazing, and I'm so happy to have the pink pomelo shade that is not so light and almost white, like a lot of color correctors that come out. Usually the pink shade is almost white. It's so light. I'm so happy that they came out with this shade that is a true pink, a peachy pink. I think that's amazing. I feel like this is going to be one of the new, very popular color correctors in the beauty world. So thumbs up for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already. I do lots of color corrector videos here on my channel, and I will be doing in the next few weeks I don't know if I'm doing a top 10 yet, or just a video dedicated to all the different color correctors that I have and the ones that I like. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure to follow me over on Instagram at simply.blair and TikTok simply.blair1. I will have everything listed below that I'm wearing today, as well as these correctors. They are affiliate links, so I do make a commission if you shop through them. Thank you so much if you do choose to do that, and I will see you next time. Remember, simply be you. Bye.